The Holocaust is defined as the systematic, bureaucratic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews and 5 million other people by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. In 1933, Adolf Hitler was voted into power over Germany. The people gave him the power to pass laws without their vote, so he started to pass laws that allowed discrimination and racism. They started concentration camps for political opponents and people that they saw as undesirable. In 1942, they began the final solution to the Jewish question, by exterminating Jews and others who were in concentration camps or disagreed with the solution. The Holocaust ended in 1945. Only 5% of the people were upstanders during this time. Among those 5% was a small group of people called the White Rose.
The White Rose was founded in 1942 by Hans Scholl, Willy Graf, and Christopher Probst. The group went against the Nazi regime non-violently by creating and distributing leaflets. In total, the White Rose authored 6 leaflets, which were multiplied and spread in a total of about 15,000 copies.
Hans and Sophie Scholl are the most well-known White Rose members, along with their friend, Christoph Probst. Sophie Scholl was born on the 9th of May, 1921, and her brother, Hans Scholl, was born on September 22, 1918. Christoph Probst was born on November 6, 1919. Both Hans and Sophie had joined the Hitler Youth Program. In the early summer of 1942, Hans Scholl, Sophie Scholl, and many others formed the White Rose and began creating leaflets that went against the Nazi regime. Hans had been horrified by the behavior of some German soldiers on the Eastern Front, where they had witnessed cruelty towards Jews in Poland and Soviet Union, inspiring him to make the group. His sister, Sophie, was unaware of his actions, but when she discovered what he had been doing, she joined him. On February 18, 1943, Hans and Sophie were spotted at a custodian while throwing leaflets from the atrium at Ludwig Maximilians University. They were arrested by the Gestapo and tried for treason by Judge Roland Freisler. They were found guilty and condemned to death on February 22, 1943.
The White Rose used leaflets to spread its message. 6 leaflets were created. When they had begun, the pamphlets were spread in the greater Munich region, but soon enough they had gotten secret carriers to distribute the leaflets to other cities. They had printed and spread about 15,000 copies. The leaflets themselves denounced the Nazi regime and its actions. In their second leaflet, they denounced the persecution and mass murder of the Jews. Their leaflets would use multiple religious and literature quotes in the leaflets. By early 1943, they had begun an anti-Nazi graffiti campaign, painting freedom and down with Hitler on buildings throughout Munich.
But all that came to an end when the White Rose was dispersed. The leaflets changed in how people thought and felt. They angered some and changed the opinions of others. The 6th leaflet was smuggled out of Germany by a German lawyer. In July of 1943, Allied planes dropped copies of the leaflets over Germany. Unfortunately, they did not affect much. It was not until many years later that they would be noticed by their actions. There were 3 movies made based on the White Rose. There was a monument for them made in the very same university they attended. They are a great example of upstanders who have influenced the world.
When the White Rose was captured, specifically Sophie, Hans, and Christoph Probst, they were scheduled to stand trial against the Nazis' People Court. The court was infamous for unfair political trials. They were found guilty for treason and sentenced to death. The 3 were executed the same day by guillotine at Stadelheim prison. All 3 were noted to have been extremely brave in their final hours. Hans screamed, "Es lebe die Freiheit!" as the blade fell. Sophie was stern and brave during interrogation. A few sources have said that Sophie's interrogation was so harsh that her leg was broken, and say that she still stood in court despite her allegedly broken leg.
Clearly, here, being an upstander is important, because if one person stands up, it'll be a chain reaction. Once one stands up, others will too. And here, the White Rose stood up. And even though they were sat back down, people got the message and in turn helped to spread the leaflets after the end of the White Rose. We can't just sit idly by while something terrible happens. We need to rise up against injustices.
The White Rose was a group who put their lives on the line to stand up for what they believed in. In the face of certain death, they persisted, right until the very end. They're a perfect example of why we should stand up for what we believe in. If we didn't try to stand up against injustice, we will never change to fix it.